What is going on, guys? So I'm going to give you guys a reaction video to why do good movies just have three colors. Now, how does this pertain to artists, right? It's like, why is he doing a reaction video to movies? What does this have to do with art? Actually, it has a lot to do with art. And let me tell you why. Because of understanding color theory in terms of color grading, understanding how to use colors. In the end of the day, less is more. So I'm going to give you guys more of a detailed explanation with this reaction video, right? So without further ado, let's get it started.
Which of these two shots would you say is more colorful? If you're like 90% of people from the survey, you would choose this shot, even though the other shot has much more colors. This is something we called the paradox of a colorful shot. Here's the director of Whiplash, La La Land and Babylon, Damien Chazelle, explaining it.
Sometimes another misconception you have is, I want the movie to be really colorful. So you just throw a ton of color on screen. All the different colors of the rainbow, you wind up having a shot that doesn't feel colorful. If you say, this shot is going to be blue and red, this shot is going to be yellow and green. That's something I really learned from Vincent Minnelli. Vibrancy of colors rests entirely in counterpoint of those colors. The less colors you're counterpointing and the stronger the choices you're making in each of those colors that you're counterpointing, the more you feel it.
And I'm going to add on to that. So even when it comes down to artists as well, there's a lot of artists out there that don't understand color. They was just throw colors out there arbitrary and not understanding the theme or the meaning behind it. So what he just showed is a palette. So let me show you some of my artwork that I've done from a previous channel that I created that didn't go anywhere, but this is still a good explanation. All right. So take this, for example. This was just a quick illustration I created with work-life balance, right? Between the battle between working from home compared to working in the office. As you guys can see, with the red overlay, it creates a sense of urgency, a sense of fear, a sense of uncomfortability and stress. While the color grading on the right-hand side represents calmness. I use a yellow overlay. And on top of that, you don't see so much colors that are competing with each other because I have washed it out to create that welcoming, warm type of scenery. So color overlaying is extremely important, as well as in terms of character designs. So I'll give you another example. I did this one here of Daredevil, right? So with this, you guys can see there's not a lot of competing colors. I used the yellow to exaggerate on the backlighting of the scenery. However, at the same time, you just see a lot of just blacks and reds. So everything is just black, red, and yellow with a hint of midnight blue. So there's just not a lot of colors happening here, but because of that, the scenery makes it much more dramatic. All right. So let's continue with this video. If you guys agree or disagree with me, let me know down below.
Everything that Damien Chazelle just said is also backed up by science. The human eye naturally finds a limited color palette more appealing because it simplifies the image, reducing visual chaos.
I am Butch Loxton.
Oh,
I'm a Los Angeles-based artist. I'm inspired by the Day of the
I can't even skip it. There we go.
The brain is constantly processing thousands of visual stimuli. A limited palette reduces the cognitive load by narrowing.
And you can see the composition of the colors, very minimalistic. You have the earth tone brown, and then you have a navy blue.
The range of colors the brain has to decode, allowing viewers to focus on the composition, emotions, and story rather than being overwhelmed.
There you go. This is a lot of digital noise. Now you can add that effect to, portray like comic books where it's exaggerated, like the inspiration from Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, right? They'll add those type of era effects. However, they done that on purpose because it's dealing with time traveling, right? Going to different dimensions, right? So they use that effect that you're going out of this world beyond the scope of everyday life. So you can use distortion as an effect, but not make it a every type of scenery in terms of the overall look. So even in artwork, you don't want that to be all over the place because it just looks like throw up. It's like the eyes are getting way too stimulated to the point where it becomes overwhelming.
Bound by excessive details. A scene dominated by just a few colors allows the viewer to absorb the mood and focus on the narrative without distractions. When a limited palette is used, individual colors take on more significance due to the psychological principle of color relativity. A single color surrounded by neutral or muted tones appears more vivid and emotionally impactful than it would in a busy, multicolored scene. In a predominantly gray frame, a lone red object becomes a...
You see the contrast? He's talking about with color. You got warm colors, you got cold colors. You also have complementary colors, right? So complementary, for example, you have red and green. What is a warmer color? The red. What's a cooler color? Green, right? So if you have a winter green with a bright saturated red, your eyes are going to be more drawn towards the red. And then when you understand the language of these terminologies and practice it, you then can apply it to your artwork as well as film.
Electrifying, commanding attention and amplifying its narrative importance. This is because the brain processes color contextually, and the fewer competing colors there are, the stronger each remaining color becomes. When fewer colors are present, the eye naturally focuses on contrasts and key details. This creates a visual hierarchy where certain elements pop, while others recede into the background. This is especially important in storytelling to guide the viewer's attention. Restricting a palette also taps into color memory, where scenes dominated by a few distinct colors are more likely to linger in the viewer's mind. Humans are naturally wired to remember simpler visuals, which is why iconic moments in cinema often employ a restricted palette.
That also happens as well with photography, and you can even utilize understanding photography, like for example, the depth of field. So you could make things blurry in the background so you can focus on the visual hierarchy of the character's design. So I have one to show you as an example. Right? So let me pull this up in one of my, I don't even have it out here. This is impromptu. So I'll give you an example right now. And this is one of like the older designs I've done before. So take this, right? Let's zoom in more. So you see like the background is all busy. So imagine if I focused on the detail of the background. Then the depth of field will become distorted. There won't be no depth of field. Your eyes will be all over the place. You see all of the detail in this character design, even though it has that type of exaggerated perspective, it will compete with the background. So by giving that three-dimensional effect to it, you can blur out the background and blur out particle effects so you can emphasize on the character design, right? So that's one example right there. The woman holding a gun, the weapon, creates a 3D look in a 2D space. And then also, let me show you, this Sonic one it was tough to draw Sonic, by the way. It's one of my previous channels, right? So even this one, I designed Sonic in a Roman Colosseum. Not too much colors are happening, right? I made, by Sonic having that blue, right? It obscures everything with the earth tones, which is great because that makes Sonic pop out more. He is the focal point, right? Even though Dr. Eggman visually is larger, your eyes are still looking at Sonic. And I purposely done that, as well as adding the overlay, color overlay, to shine on Sonic in motion and creating the motion effect as well. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing character designs and whenever you're creating that type of scenery. You want the eyes, you want the viewers to have a bold representation of guiding them towards visual hierarchy of what they want to see. So I focus on this. This is the most important aspect of it. And then you look at Dr. Eggman. So I just want to show that as an example. All right, so let's get back into this video.
A bit off topic, but these pink chairs from 2001: A Space Odyssey go so hard, unlike the chair I've been using to edit all these videos. So I was thrilled when FlexiSpot, the sponsor of this video, sent us their new chair. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks, and my back has been thankful ever since. Position. Color contrast dictates the viewer's gaze. Warm, saturated hues like red or yellow naturally draw attention, while cooler or desaturated tones recede into the background. Instead of using leading lines or physical barriers, distinct blocks of color can segment the frame. This creates visual tension or harmony, depending on the color's relationships. A monochromatic palette, using shades and tints of a single hue.
Yeah, so monochromatic is also used for color grading. So if you want to just wash out a color, you can use orange, red, whatever color it is, and it will just all become with the tints and shades of that color family.
Can unify a composition and evoke a strong emotional response. Negative space doesn't have to be a literal blank area. It can also be created using vast, uniform fields of color. Gradual color transitions can guide the viewer's eyes along a path within the frame, mimicking the effect of a leading line. But what happens when this flow is deliberately disrupted? Enter color pattern interruption. In visual storytelling, patterns provide structure, consistency, and rhythm within a frame. They make the composition feel predictable and harmonious. But sometimes, the most impactful moments arise when you break the pattern, a technique known as pattern interruption. By introducing a contrasting color or element into a repetitive visual scheme, filmmakers can create tension, direct attention, or evoke emotion. Pattern interruption leverages the human brain's tendency to notice deviations in repetitive sequences. In the context of color, this means inserting a hue that contrasts sharply with a prevailing palette or disrupting a rhythm of uniform tone.
And that's exactly what I was saying in terms of this design here of Sonic. It just destroys the rhythm of it purposely because everything else blends in the same harmony of reds, browns, yellow. It has the same color palette effect, but the blue stands out a lot more. So your eye is going to be drawn towards this blue because that's the only blue that's in this composition.
The interruption draws immediate focus, signaling importance or change. Color-based pattern interruptions often rely on contrast. The greater the contrast, whether in hue, saturation, or brightness, the stronger the visual and emotional impact. But for a pattern interruption to stand out, there must first be a deliberate structure to disrupt. The audience must recognize the visual rhythm, which is why filmmakers spend a lot of time building repetition through color. This is where the 60-30-10 color rule comes into play, a widely used guideline in design.
This is their version of like their golden ratio rules. I never knew that they actually had a golden ratio with filmography, so interesting.
In filmmaking, the 60-30-10 rule organizes color proportions to create visual harmony and guide the viewer's attention. By establishing a dominant color, a secondary color, and an accent color, filmmakers can craft a cohesive visual palette that feels balanced and intentional, and ensures that no single color overwhelms the composition. While initially popularized in interior design, the rule's effectiveness in creating aesthetic appeal and directing focus naturally found its way into other visual mediums, including films. The principle originated in interior design, where it was used to create spaces that felt cohesive and visually appealing. By assigning specific roles to each color, dominant for the primary backdrop, secondary for complementary elements, and accent for focal points, designers could craft environments that were both striking and balanced. Its adaptability and
this is also a good example. If you guys ever go to any retail stores, especially look at the difference between if you go to the 99-cent store and you go to a high-end luxury retail store, it is night and day. One 99-cent store is we just gotta throw everything at you. We got the aisles organized, but there is no exact focal point as far as like color placement, product placement, as far as it work in harmony and composition. Whereas if you go to luxury stores, right, you don't need to buy anything in the luxury store. Just go there, and just to see how they lay everything out from their interior design to their overall color palette. Because when you look at stuff like that, nothing is arbitrary. There's reasons why this is designed here, that is designed there. That's this color, that's that color, and yet everything works cohesively. So that's one thing you should keep in mind if you're not an artist, and especially if you are an artist, implement that into your artwork, and you will see how much you will make a vast improvement.
Simplicity made it a go-to guideline for visual creators across disciplines. In the world of filmmaking, where visual storytelling is paramount, the 60-30-10 rule became a tool to control the palette of a scene. Filmmakers discovered that applying this principle could influence mood, reinforce themes, and guide the audience's focus. Cinematographers and production designers began using it to plan set design, costumes, and lighting schemes, ensuring that every frame felt deliberate and harmonious. This idea of reducing visual chaos and guiding the viewer's attention naturally leads us to another fascinating aspect of cinematic composition: the power of threes, not just in color palettes, but also in how filmmakers arrange characters within a frame. 3 characters in a shot often feel inherently satisfying because they create a sense of balance and dynamism that 2 or 4 characters.
See, also, this is getting really artsy-fartsy, but if you understand like the high Italian Renaissance period, right? Google it. They've done a lot of the pyramid ratio, the triangle ratio, as a composition. So if you look at Madonna and Child, a lot of those paintings, they emphasize on Mary being the top, right? Being the largest in scale. And then you have Jesus as a baby. And I think you have, I don't know if it's John the Baptist, but you will have another like adolescent kid there as well. And by those 3, they show a sense of balance. There's something about the 3 that is aesthetically appealing towards human beings for some reason. Ironically, 3 is an odd number, but yet there's a balance to it compared to 4 or 2. It's just the rule of 3. You even see it in video games. Even when it comes down to side quests or whatever, they always say gather these 3, capture these 3, accomplish these 3 missions. It's something about 3 that is embedded in our DNA for some reason. So if you're an expert in terms of that type of logistics, let me know about that down below.
Struggle to achieve. Unlike 2 characters, which can feel overly symmetrical or static, 3 introduce an asymmetry that encourages the viewer's eye to move fluidly across the frame. This arrangement often forms a triangular composition.
I didn't even watch this part. When you know, you know.
Which adds depth, stability, and a clear hierarchy. It subtly communicates relationships, conflicts, or alliances among the characters while keeping the frame visually engaging. The number 3 resonates deeply in human psychology. It often represents completeness, beginning, middle, and end, and stability, a tripod being more stable than a chair with 4 legs on uneven ground. In film, both 3 characters and 3 colors can evoke a sense of wholeness while still allowing room for movement and tension. This makes the scene both satisfying and stimulating for the audience. This principle can also be seen in how filmmakers use 3 colors in a scene. While we've already explored how a limited palette helps guide attention, the use of 3 colors goes beyond simplicity. It mirrors the dynamic interaction of 3 characters. Each color serves a specific purpose. The dominant color establishes the mood, the secondary color enhances or contrasts it, and the accent color acts like the 3rd character, standing out to command attention or emphasize a specific narrative element. Both techniques, 3 characters and 3 colors, achieve harmony and focus by creating deliberate relationships within the frame.
And you see the depth of field right here. He's the focal point, right? Background, and then secondary. Primary, secondary, tertiary.
Just as the characters interact to tell a story.
And also, it's amazing when you add this type of effect. I used to, well, I haven't done animations in a while, but whenever I was doing a lot of stop animations, I will create a character, and then I do a lot of designs where I'll just have just the front view and different face expressions, but also I have another one where it's just the back view, and I'll have characters where they'll just overlap. They'll just be really large right here, and I'll blur it out. And by doing that, it gives you that perspective as if you're actually in the scenery, you know? So doing things like that, it just creates that 3-dimensionality to the next level of more like a visual, like virtual reality. It gives you more of that organic type of virtual reality as if you're there.
The colors interact to evoke emotion and direct attention. This parallel reveals a deeper connection between composition and color.
Look at that. Look at all of this beautiful negative space, and it creates this triangle. You guys see that right there? It creates a somewhat of a big triangle composition. Look at that.
Showing how both can work together to create cinematic moments that feel purposeful and complete. If you want to color
everything from film to making a work of art, everything is broken down into shapes. Everything is based upon shapes, lines, colors, to the simplicity. Never forget about understanding shapes, lines, and color, because that carries out towards how you are able to evolve and make things much more dynamic. When you make things extremely dynamic and dramatic, it has, you guessed it, a strong sense of shape, color, in a simplistic form. So understand that if you want to get into film, if you want to get into learning how to draw, if you want to create sceneries, character designs, and so forth. So that's pretty much it for the video. Like I said, guys, I do a lot of these are like some of my illustrations. You guys saw the horizontal versions as well. All right. So 30 suggestions of different artworks you guys want me to do. And if you guys want me to critique your own artwork, right, I can definitely do that. Just send it to me on my Gmail. I have that in the description below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.